ගම්මැද්ද ගෙයින්ගෙට කණ්ඩායම අද හෙටම ඔබේ ගමටත්. ගම්මැද්ද ගෙයින්ගෙට ජනතාව සමග ජනතාව උදෙසා.
Good afternoon. It's the 21st of October 2022. Welcome to Lunchtime News here on TV1 for the Newsfirst team, where the people come first. I'm Senator Senanayaka. Before we take a look at the stories that we've got for you this afternoon in detail, let's take a look at the headlines.
Inland Revenue Amendment Bill that imposes a tax on income over 100,000 rupees presented to Parliament. SJB lawyers go to Bribery Commission to inquire progress into Pandora Papers probe.
මේ රට අද මේ වර්තමාන තත්ත්වයෙන් මේ තතර පත්වීමට එකම හේතුවක් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ රටේ පවතින දූෂණය සහ වංචාව.
Credit assurances required by November to tap IMF support, State Minister tells Parliament. Vote on the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution today. Heavy rains to continue. Liz Truss gone, who will become the UK's new Prime Minister.
As you know, Sri Lanka has been experiencing unfavorable weather conditions for the past several days. We are now joined by Newsfirst's Shehan Ranatunga, who will bring us the latest updates regarding the weather situation in Colombo and in other parts of the country. Shehan?
Thank you, Senator. That's right. Now, let's start off with a look at the situation on the ground. Now, the sluice gates of multiple reservoirs have been opened due to heavy rains that are being experienced in those areas.
4 out of the 5 sluice gates in the Kotmale reservoir has been opened due to the heavy rains experienced in the area. The reservoir is releasing water at a volume of 200 cubic feet per second. The Deputy Director of the Nuwara Disaster Management Centre, Ranjit Alahakon, has requested the people of the neighbouring areas of the Kotmale Oya to be vigilant amidst the extreme weather conditions. The water levels has increased at the Devon and St Clair waterfalls as well. The sluice gates of the Polgolla Mahaveli Dam have also been opened amidst the extreme weather conditions. The reservoir is releasing water at a volume of 12,000 cubic feet per second. The Polgolla Mahaveli Dam Engineer's Office has requested the public to be vigilant when travelling close to the Mahaveli River. The sluice gates of the Dadaroya have been opened as well. The Deputy Director of the Nuwara Disaster Management Centre, Ranjit Alahakon, said that the sluice gates at the Vimala Surendra Reservoir have been opened as well. Hydroelectricity engineers of the Castlereagh and Mausakale reservoirs say they are very close to overflowing, and with the increase of the water level in those reservoirs, the hydropower generation in the Vimala Surendra, Canyon, Lakshapana, Navalakshapana and Pulpiti hydroelectric power plants are being carried out at maximum capacity. Meanwhile, the water level of the Kaluganga in the Ratnapura area has risen due to heavy showers in the area.
Now, in the meantime, the landslide early warnings for the Kalutara, Kelgol, Nuwara and Ratnapura districts is still in effect. Now, several earth slips had been reported from a number of areas owing to heavy rains being experienced.
The earth embankment collapsed onto a house in Kudaga, Manhattan during a heavy downpour on Thursday night. No injuries were reported. The occupants of the house were moved to a temporary shelter. Earth slips in multiple locations along the Hatton-Nuwara main road caused obstruction to vehicular movement.
Now, multi-day boats in the Bay of Bengal area and North Andaman Sea are advised to return to shore or to move to safer areas immediately due to the strong winds and rough seas that are being experienced. And the Met Department had earlier warned that a low pressure area formed in the North Andaman Sea and adjoining South Andaman Sea and the Southeast Bay of Bengal on the 20th of October this year. Now, it's likely to move north-northwestwards or west-northwestwards and intensify into a depression over the same area on the 22nd, that's tomorrow.
Fishermen from multiple coastal areas in Sri Lanka refrained from setting out to sea following the warning issued by the Met Department. Newsfirst correspondents said that the seas in Hikkadua were rough, while Galle was experiencing rainfall since Thursday night. Multi-day boats and other small boats did not set out to sea from Mathura due to bad weather. Newsfirst correspondents said that whale watching tour operators also suspended operations on Friday due to bad weather. The Met Department warned that a low pressure area formed over North Andaman Sea and adjoining areas of South Andaman Sea and Southeast Bay of Bengal on the 20th of October 2022. It is very likely to move west-northwestwards and intensify into a depression over the same region around the 22nd of October.
Now, many coastal areas in Sri Lanka have been experiencing heavy rainfall since Thursday night. And the Met Department, it forecasts showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, north-central, northwestern and northern provinces, as well as in the Galle and Mathura districts. The Met Department forecasts heavy showers of around 75 millimeters can be expected at places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces, as well as in the Galle and Mathura districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur elsewhere over the island during the afternoon or at night. The general public are advised to take adequate precaution to minimize damages caused by temporarily localized strong winds and lightning during these thunder showers.
Thank you, Shahan, for that comprehensive report. Do stay tuned to News First. We will bring you the latest with regards to the current weather situation in the country. Now, in more local news, the Inland Revenue Bill bringing in new tax measures to boost state revenue was presented to Parliament on Friday. As per the bill, the tax-free allowance has been reduced and would be broadened the base of the tax net. Thereby, any individual with gross monthly income earnings of 100,000 rupees or above would be liable for income tax from the 1st of October 2022. In more local news, the Samagi Young Lawyers Balavegya visited the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption to inquire into the progress made on the Pandora Papers probe.
ජාත්‍යන්තර ගවේෂණාත්මක මාධ්‍යවේදීන්ගේ සංවිධානය විසින් Pandora Papers.
The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists made a revelation via the Pandora Papers expose on global money laundering. Several Sri Lankans were named in the Pandora Papers, including ex-politician Nirupama Rajapaksha, Nadeshan. Then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa called for a report within a month. A preliminary report was produced and the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption said more investigations are required. However, more than a year has passed and no legal action has been taken.
කාලයක් ගත වෙලා තිබුණත් මේ වෙනකොටත් කිසිම පියවරක් අධිකරණමය ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් ගත්තු බවක් මහ ජනතාවට හැඟවිලා දැනවිලා නැහැ.
බදු ගෙවන ජනතාවගේ මුදල් අවභාවිතා කරලා තියෙන එක.
It is evident that the taxpayers' money was looted. The money needs to be recovered and it is the responsibility of the law enforcement agencies to act on it. People are concerned as to whether these agencies are fulfilling their duties and responsibilities. Corruption and fraud is the main reason for the current state of affairs in the country. Irrespective of the governance structure, these acts cannot be accepted.
In some more news from the Parliament, Sri Lanka's State Minister of Finance, Shehan Semasinghe, speaking in Parliament, elaborated on the recent meetings he had with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank.
The IMF and World Bank present a vision for global and regional economies. According to them, the global economic growth will be slow and inflation will remain high for a long period. They are highlighting the urgent need to handle the pressure from inflation. During the meeting among member countries, the Executive Director of the World Bank and the Executive Director of the IMF, it was decided to provide assistance to Sri Lanka. If Sri Lanka is to receive financial assistance from the IMF, the financial consensus of the bilateral creditors must be obtained at the beginning of next month. As Sri Lanka's ability to obtain loans has been affected, the country has limited its usage of the funds of the International Development Bank for restructuring. Under these circumstances, the request made by Sri Lanka to the World Bank to not consider the country as a medium income earning country will help Sri Lanka get concessions from the World Bank. The President has made the necessary intervention and discussions with Japan, China and India, who are the largest creditor nations to Sri Lanka. We hope the IMF will soon help Sri Lanka in its efforts to rebuild the economy as soon as we get the financial assurances from these countries. We request a debate in the future regarding the State Minister's statement. During the recent UN Human Rights session, it was said that a resolution was passed stating that economic crimes were committed in the country. You will have to answer this during the first half of next year.
The debate regarding the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution is taking place on Friday, and the vote will take place later in the day. Leader Sajid Premadasa said the opposition would support the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution because it's far more better than the 20th Amendment that was presented by the government of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and added that the opposition favours the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. He slammed the government to first improve on its qualities before preaching to the House. He said that the government is only commenting on the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution simply because the people of the country took to the streets. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party has taken the stand that if clauses on dual citizenship is changed during the committee stages, the party cannot vote in favour of the 22nd constitutional amendment. Chairman of the SLFP, Maithripala Sirisena, said this while attending a press conference held in Colombo. Former President Sirisena says that his party was informed that several changes to the proposed 22nd Amendment are subject to take place. He said the SLFP decided to vote in favour of the 22nd Amendment on the grounds that the dual citizenship of parliamentarians will be abolished. He goes on to say that the SLFP will not vote in favour of the 22nd Amendment if this stance is changed by the government. Meanwhile, former President Maithripala Sirisena also emphasized the way the Chief of Police was appointed when he was serving as President as well. The former President said that the Speaker and the Prime Minister at that time came to his office to discuss who was to be appointed as the Chief of Police, and that he suggested S.M. Wickramasinghe as he was the most senior officer at that time. He went on to say that many of their party members were against that because S.M. Wickramasinghe served under the Rajapaksa regime and wanted to appoint Pujit Jayasundara instead, and that the government at that time selected Pujit Jayasundara. In more local news, a woman and her young son died in a motor accident on the Colombo-Katunayake road in Alava. It took place last night in Alava when a three-wheeler collided with a tipper. The police said that the group was travelling from Dambulla to Boralaskamuwa when they met with an accident. Members of the same family were travelling in the three-wheeler, and the deceased were the mother and one son. The injured father and the other son have been taken to the hospital as well. The 17th day of the 6th edition of the Gum at the Door-to-Door campaign, identifying numerous perennial issues that have plagued rural Sri Lanka. The program is taking place together with the researchers from the University of Peradeniya.
The Gum at the Door-to-Door program is currently taking place in the Batiklo, Monoragala and Kandy districts. The Gum at the Door-to-Door team in the Kandy district visited the Handesa village in the remote part of the Udunuwara Divisional Secretariat. The main issue that has plunged this village is the lack of proper infrastructure for transport. This is the 200-meter long stretch of road leading to the village school. When it rains, this road becomes inaccessible as it turns into a river, forcing the children to abandon their day at school. The Gum at the Door-to-Door team in the Monoragala district visited the remote village of Mahagodayaya, where most of the villagers depend on agriculture to survive. Unfortunately, a short of water has forced these people to abandon cultivations. Despite informing the authorities to divert water from a main water body to these fields, those pleas had fallen on deaf ears.
In international news, Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has responded to Liz Truss's resignation by saying a UK general election is a democratic imperative. She described the political situation as an utter shambles after the Prime Minister announced she would be leaving number 10 Downing Street just 45 days into the job. No parliamentarians have yet publicly confirmed the running, but names including the former Chancellor Rishi Sunak and the leader of the House of Commons, Penny Mordaunt, have been touted.
Both ran against Truss when their party was deciding who should replace Boris Johnson, a name that is also being floated. The pound is holding above $1.12 in Asia's morning trade after Prime Minister Liz Truss's resignation. Sterling gained in the immediate aftermath of the announcement on Thursday. Liz Truss is now the shortest serving Prime Minister in British history since George Canning died in 1827 after 119 days in office. Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak were leading the race with nominations within the Tory party on Wednesday evening, but no formal declarations have yet been made. Former Prime Minister Johnson has been privately encouraging Tory parliamentarians to support him returning to Downing Street. The Daily Mirror says the British people are demanding a general election now. Other major runners are Penny Mordaunt, the leader of the House of Commons, and Tory Kemi Badenoch.
White House says Iran is helping Russia on the ground in Crimea. Washington accuses Tehran of training Russian military on Iranian-made drones used in recent deadly attacks in Ukraine.
The White House has accused Iran of being directly engaged on the ground in Russian-occupied Crimea, helping to train the country's forces on Iranian-made drones that have been used in attacks in Ukraine. U.S. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said yesterday that a relatively small number of Iranian personnel are operating in the Ukrainian region that was annexed by Russia in 2014. Tehran has denied supplying Moscow with drones or helping launch them. Russia has carried out deadly drone attacks across Ukraine, but the Kremlin has rejected reports that it is using Iranian weapons. Speaking after United Nations Security Council meeting on Wednesday, Russia's deputy ambassador to the UN, Dmitry Polyansky, insisted the weapons had been made in Russia and condemned baseless accusations and conspiracy theories. Kirby said yesterday that the Iranian drone systems were suffering failures and not performing to the standards that apparently the customers expected, which prompted the on-the-ground intervention. He says the Iranians decided to move in some trainers and some technical support to help the Russians use them with better lethality. Kirby added that Washington will continue to vigorously enforce all U.S. sanctions on both the Russian and Iranian arms trades.
The US authorities formally handed over 307 antiquities estimated to be worth nearly $4 million to Indian officials on Monday. These were recovered from international smuggler Subhash Kapoor's art gallery, other art galleries as well as multiple trafficking networks.
The Manhattan District Attorney's Office announced Monday that the U.S. has returned 307 looted treasures to India as part of a 15-year investigation into international trafficking networks. More than three-quarters of the repatriated items, which have an estimated value of over $4 million, are linked to New York art dealer Subhash Kapoor, who is currently on trial for smuggling offences in India. According to the U.S. prosecutors, Kapoor and his co-conspirators trafficked thousands of artifacts plundered from temples, ruins and archaeological sites. The looting ring then falsified authentication documents and sold the antiquities to the dealer's New York gallery, Art of the Past. In a press statement, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin L. Bragg Jr. said he was proud to return the artifacts to the people of India, adding that these antiquities were stolen by multiple complex and sophisticated trafficking rings, the leaders of which showed no regard for the culture or historical significance of these objects. The DA office's Antiquities Trafficking Unit, a task force comprising of lawyers, investigators and art experts, have overseen the return of nearly 2,200 antiquities since its formation in December 2017. So far, 22 countries have benefited from repatriations worth an estimate of $160 million, including in the last year alone, Egypt, Italy, Greece and Israel.
An unbeaten half-century from Brandon King has helped the West Indies post a decent total in their crucial ICC Men's T20 World Cup clash against Ireland in Hobart on Friday.
King's 62 not out from 48 deliveries paced the West Indies innings, with the right-hander hitting 6 boundaries and 1 6 during his knock to help the Caribbean side post 146 for 5 in good batting conditions at Belrive Oval. Only King was able to gather momentum with his innings, as Johnson Charles with 24, Odean Smith with 19 and skipper Nicholas Pooran with 13 all showed glimpses of form. While the West Indies will be confident of being able to defend that total, Ireland will be reasonably happy that they restricted their opponents from scoring too heavily in the cutthroat contest. And Ireland have their spinners to thank for helping them restrict the West Indies, as Gareth Delaney and Sami Singh bowled exceptionally well throughout. The match is a virtual elimination final for both sides, with the winner progressing to the Super 12 stage of the tournament and the loser missing out.
Now, a short while ago, Ireland defeated the West Indies by 9 wickets to secure qualification for the Super 12 stage of this year's T20 World Cup. A short while ago, Scotland will take on Zimbabwe later today to determine the final qualifier to the Super 12s. Now, Sri Lanka, of course, Sri Lanka's first Super 12 match will fall on Sunday, the 23rd of October at 9:30 a.m. In more sports news, the 12th Defence Services game, where the 3 armed services engage in sportsmanship, ceremonially commenced on Wednesday at the Sri Lanka Army Indoor Stadium in Panagoda. The Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs has recognized the Defence Services Games as the 3rd most significant sporting event of the annual sports calendar. The Defence Services Games will begin on the 26th of October 2022 and last through October of the following year, with a total of 39 sports, 36 sports disciplines under the men's category and 32 under the women's category, and with the participation of more than 4,000 men and women representing Sri Lanka Army, Navy and Air Force. This year's Defence Services Games is being hosted by the Sri Lanka Air Force with the unwavering support from the Sri Lanka Army and the Navy. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Lunchtime News here on TV1. For the News First team, where the people come first, I'm Vincenita Senanayaka. Take care and stay safe.